I want to teach you ways you can talk to people when you don't have nothing to say. As somebody like me who's a social person, there's been times where I've been in a situation where I couldn't figure out what to say to someone. If you're someone who can't hold a conversation, this lesson is for you. This presentation will help. This lecture will help the people who sit there quiet, awkwardly staring at the person because they have nothing to say. At first, I'll be talking about how you can start a conversation by having an interesting chat. Don't make being interesting go. Many people that believe to want to build some kind of relationship, they want to win them over with interest or humorous chat. In reality, this isn't really the case. The interaction doesn't have to be insightful for it to be meaningful. Don't get caught up in the belief what you can say is good enough just to say it anyway, which is later quoted by Brian Lee. Many of us believe that being interesting to someone will cause them to create dialogue, but in reality, people tend to forget the conversations. Furthermore, many of us really remember people's names and memories that we shared at that such place. If all does is fail, you can start a conversation by asking them questions about themselves. Let them do the talking instead of you. Another topic I want to get to, let them talk about themselves. A simple way to get a conversation started is letting the person talk about themselves. You can do this by asking the person questions about themselves. Asking the questions about the person that you're talking to shows that you're personally interested in them and that you care. Some of the questions that you can ask them are how their day, what they're up to. Ask them about the cloth they're wearing or where they get it from. I'll be teaching you guys techniques how to calm down when you're feeling anxious and talking to someone. Breathing is somewhat important to finding what it is just to sit back and relax and breathe. When talking to someone, being in control of your breathing will be vital to you because the watching flowing will keep you from freaking out and having a nervous breakdown. Relaxing while talking will cause the person you're encountering with to keep them at ease, make them don't feel uncomfortable. The simplest way to reconnect with them now is just to focus on your breathing, or to observe your surroundings with all the senses. Just take a minute, which is later quoted by Jaidyn. You want to do combination of breathing and relax. If you feel tense and stressed, and then you assume the rapid to bring yourself into even more positive headspace. Going straight from the nervous to assuming rapid successfully, make a big leap. This text is from Life Health by Jaidyn. Today I will conclude with the quote from Winston Churchill. If you have an important point to make, don't try to be subtle or clever. Use a power driver, hit the punch once, and come back and hit it again. Then the third time is a tremendous way. And here I'm going to show y'all the video. Cool. Alright, I'm going to give y'all a disclaimer on this video. The lady's not talking English, alright? but they got subtitles that shows you what she's talking about. She's trying to show you how to have a conversation when you have no
Mina! कैसी है? ये बिल्कुल तो नहीं है। आंटी कैसी है? आंटी सुना दादी मम्मी ऑफ हो गया क्या? कब जा? आंटी गर्मी हो गई है रीड करो सब।
Alright, that's done. That's my presentation. My leg is shaking, bro. Twitching, bro. Like, consciously, I get up and
All right. I'm sorry. What did you think?
I thought that, the first topic was to speak up, and then the points to talk for yourself, and then he had the techniques how to. But they weren't really like connecting to what his topic was, because breathing when talking to someone doesn't help, because you said you were talking for yourself. Like, breathing is not gonna help with that, but it's like, it was a big point that you made, like, you were focusing on, and it didn't seem like it was connecting back to what it was about speaking up. And then the visual was really not relevant to what you were saying, because I don't know where you found from, but that's an Indian video that I know about.
Yeah, well, I gotta get out.
I could understand everything she was saying, but that was completely irrelevant to what you were saying.
I use a 30-second song.
And then you do really need practice, and then I felt like you were reading an essay, but you tried, so it was
I get that on blood. So twice now.
Okay. All right.
Lucky I get the person to talk to you.
Okay, you've done the same thing several people have done today, and I'm not sure why people are making the same mistake. You're starting off with your topic, and you're supposed to start with the attention device. I think you've got a nice story. You say you've got this kind of personal story. Sometimes it's hard to find something to talk about. I'm not necessarily, it's not always easy for me to be able to do this, but I've learned some skills that I could do this. And what I want to do today is talk to you about how to do this kind of thing. That's the way it should go. You start off with, I want to talk to you about this thing, and then you tell us your personal story. You got it backwards. So switch them around and you'll be in better shape. It'll have a better start to the speech. Your goal is pretty clearly stated. I know what it is that you're trying to tell us at the beginning of the speech, so I thought that was good. There's not really a preview, so I don't know how you're going to do this. I don't know what the content of the speech is going to be at the beginning, so I'm not sure what it is that's going to be coming. However, while you're speaking, you do signpost some points that you're talking about. You've got this whole section about interesting chat, then you've got encourage people to talk about themselves, and then you've got the breathing section. So there is an organizational structure here that I can pick out. I'm going to kind of agree. I'm not exactly sure how the breathing section fits in. It sounds like it maybe has more to do with being anxious or nervous than it does figuring out what to talk about with people. The first section, it's kind of strange to me because you suggest that we ought to have interesting chat, but the material that you present suggests that maybe that's not really what's important. You even have a quote there at one point that talks about how people don't really focus too much on the conversation stuff. They focus more on the relational stuff that's going on there. And so there's a little bit of inconsistency with the information that you have there. I think you need a better grasp of what it is that you're trying to accomplish with that particular point. Finding subjects to talk about, that I think makes sense. How do we find those subjects? The second point that you had is an interesting one, encouraging people to talk about themselves. But how do you get them to do that? I'm sure you've had some of those conversations. I have them all the time. The first week of class when we're doing introduction, so tell me something about yourself, and people go, well, there's nothing to say. Well, it was nice meeting you, thanks. And I want to walk away from them at that point. The truth of the matter is, some people will tell you their whole life story when you give them an invitation, and other people, they won't even tell you what day of the week it is. How do you get those people who won't talk to you to talk about something? That's the kind of thing that I think needs to be developed in that section. And You've got a couple of things that might apply. The video is an attempt to kind of make fun of how you might do those sorts of things. It's a little sarcastic, a way of, oh look, a bird, oh it's gone, pay no attention. Talk about something that's in the surrounding, or get the person to talk about themselves, or find a random subject to chat about. Hey, what do you think about global warming? I mean, I appreciate the fact that it's tough sometimes to find those topics, but I thought that's what you were going to help us do, is find those kinds of topics, and you don't really. If you wanted a visual, for instance, that wasn't just the video clip, one thing might be, what are some typical conversation subjects that people have an easy time talking about? What are the kinds of things that are small talk? What do people talk about when they talk about small talk? You can think of, what music people listen to, what's going on in sports. Everybody talks about the weather. I mean, it's just one of those things. I mean, we had a conversation this morning about how cold it was outside, and now maybe it was cold inside here. Those are easy things to talk about. So you need to get some stuff like that to put into that second section. It feels like you've got something here that's worth talking about, but you haven't quite found enough supporting material and enough ideas to make it as effective as it could be. The video clip is kind of fun, but I'm not sure it really works to support the position that you're talking about. It's really more like a parody of what you're talking about, as opposed to a description of what you ought to be doing. The presentation things, I think when you watch this back, you're going to be uncomfortable because you've got all kinds of nervous things that you're doing, and they come out. Yeah, well, it's like there's one point where you practically pirouette on one toe while you're speaking. It's like a ballerina up there, You're twirling on one foot, and I'm going, whoa, this is anxiety coming out in strange places. So we're going to talk about some anxiety things. That'll be the next subject that we get into after we finish these speeches. And that'll be something that you're going to have to work on there. It's usually the best thing to deal with anxiety is to be well rehearsed and practiced, to have done it a dozen times. I think I said this to people, however many times you've practiced the presentation, make sure you do at least one more. And that's usually not enough, but one more time isn't going to hurt you. And I think you would find that would help you deal with the anxiety issues too. All right, thank you.